So now I'm going to talk about the Fabian Coulthard thing because we were talking about it last stream last weekend, talking about how good Fabian Coulthard was and that it wasn't good enough to be in DJR Team Penske. But there's a few things that I forgot about in the moment, which was like the first thing is like the 1.5 car team. But in 2017, Fabian was actually really good against Scotty. He wasn't as fast, obviously, but he was really good in the races. So when I find 2017 Supercars Championship, and then I'll show that, and I'll go into detail because there's a few important relationships when it comes to Fabian. The big one is Phil Keed. So Phil Keed was Fabian's engineer at Brad Jones Racing. I think they switched in 2013 or something like that, mid-year, where things just weren't quite working on Bridie's car. I think it was 2013, 2014, I think like something like that. They just weren't vibing right on Jason Bright's car. So Phil Keed went to Fabian's car, and they really started to click. And so things were going so well with that when Fabian moved to DJR Team Penske, Phil Keed went with him. And so they were really good in those 2 years that they were together at DJR Team Penske. But then at some point, I think it was for 2018, DJR Team Penske said, we're not happy with the way things are working in an engineering front in terms of the direction they wanted the cars to go in. So Phil Keed was told he was put on gardening leave for 2018. And so, money in the bank, but you don't have to go to work. How good is that? But Phil Keed likes being an engineer, and he likes just being a race engineer. So he had opportunities to be, I think he was technical director at Team 18, but he just likes to be a race engineer, and that's what he's happy with. He's been with Bryce Forward, and they've got a good thing going, and so that's what he likes to do. But because Phil Keed was benched by DJM Team Penske, Fabian in 2018 started to struggle. And they put him in a new car, new engineer. And I guess the thing with Mark Fanning just wasn't quite as good as what he had with Phil Keed. And the way they set up the cars in 2017 versus 2018, 19, 20 was not the same. It was maybe more geared towards what Scotty liked. And so Fabian looked a lot worse than he was. He still had an incredible ability to launch the car off the line. And he carried that through to Team Sydney, where he would vault 5 positions straight off the start and just pick up a bunch of spots, driving this absolute shitbox that's way too old to be on the grid and hasn't had an upgrade in 7 years. That was what he was dealing with at Team Sydney and managing to do a good job. He was still able to do that at DJR Team Penske, but he just didn't have they weren't able to make the race car as good, or even the qualifying car as good, because of something to do with the way they set the cars up. He was still really good at BJR. 2013, 14, 15, he was the spearhead at BJR, and he was getting race wins. I'm not sure about pole positions, but he was really good for those years. So that's my defense of Fabian Coulthard. I don't think he deserves to be seen as a has-been. He just sort of ended up in a situation where it's like, okay, this is the best place you've ever been in your career, but we're not going to support you next year. We're going to go in the Scott McLaughlin direction, which is not a Triple Eight thing. Like, Triple Eight don't do stuff like that, but DJR Team Penske did. And so when a team decides to gear everything around one driver, they end up abandoning that other driver and saying, yeah, good luck, buddy. We're giving you this car, which doesn't quite suit you anymore. And I remember 2019 they were saying, the Mustang's really going to suit Fabian, and it didn't really. He put it on pole on the first race, and then just wasn't quite able to get close enough. It was better in 2019 than it was in 2018, but 2018, I feel like only 2 guys were good that year, and those are the guys with, like, the best, engineer relationships and also, like, 2 freakish talents in Chaz Mostert and Scott McLaughlin. Fabian, like Cam Waters, Frosty, and Richie Stanaway, just struggled all year. But Fabian was able to do a really good job here in 2013, 2014 with BJR. Not quite the same, obviously. Did a bit of struggle, but still racking up podiums and still getting a good job and finishing top 10 of the championship. But it's there are so many factors that go into why one team does better than the other team. There's plenty going on. 2015, I think he was still up. I think he was slightly better than 2014, but obviously he won at Adelaide. It's just racking up podiums, doing a great job. No poles in 2015 though, but I don't think the BJR cars were capable of pole. They were just capable of grabbing a podium every now and then. Even QR there, he's just got one top 10. So sometimes the cars just weren't even close. And so he's probably happy to move to DJR Team Penske. I think it was around Bathurst they were announcing it. So maybe he just felt like the resources were going to be better at DJR Team Penske. Yeah. So that's my thing on Fabian Coulthard. Not saying he's the best driver ever. I'm just saying, and it took him a while, but he's one of those drivers that he drove for teams that was sort of like battlers. He drove for Paul Cruikshank Racing, where he did a really good job, and that drew him to perhaps the resources of Walkinshaw. He got the opportunity from Paul Morris, but then he got the launching pad from Paul Cruikshank, where they were like, "This is the guy we want," and they put everything into that 2008 year. 2009, he had a teammate, and they just weren't quite able to continue things beyond 2009. Got picked up by Walkinshaw, which with a funded car, so gets picked up as a professional, but I guess maybe he didn't need to bring too much money to the other drives. Goes to Walkinshaw, where they just weren't as good as they might have been back in 2007. Like Walkinshaw could not run 2 teams. So, Fabian came in 2010. They had 2 cars like they did in 2009. But then they dropped it down to 1 for 2011. And then Fabian got picked up by BJR to drive for maybe a better resource team. Maybe not necessarily better resource in terms of BJR were going in a better direction, and he probably looked at Jason Bright's results and thought, this is where I need to be for my future. I can't be here at Walkinshaw because they're never going to put me in a HRT car where I'm going to be able to get podiums and pole positions potentially, and maybe even a race win. So he goes to BJR going, this team is getting better every year. So, I'm in with a shot here. And he also would have seen Jason Bargwanna wasn't doing too bad either. So, in 2011, he saw, hey, BJR is not too bad. Let's go there. And he was immediately there with their man. I think I'll get my PowerPoint presentation going. And like Fabian was just immediately good at that team. So I think that it was like the double-edged sword. Is it double-edged sword the right word? DJR Team Penske. Is that the right metaphor? Or maybe every rose has its thorn. That could probably be it. That might be a better metaphor. But it's like, oh, look, they've got resources. They're really tipping money in here. They're signing all the best guys. And DJR Team Penske were willing to completely transplant the number 14 entry from Brad Jones Racing and put it in the number 12 car for BJR, or for DJR Team Penske. So, that was what was going to work for them. And so that's an attractive option to say, hey, we're not just going to sign you. We're going to sign your engineer, your co-driver, maybe even grab a couple mechanics too. You know, I've got a photo. Actually, it's a great photo. Where do I keep my photos? It's in DJR, I think. Yeah, that one. All right. Oh. All right. Yeah. I need to remember how to do things. All right. I'll do it like this. You know, and 2016 was also the year that DJR Team Penske signed Adam DeBore. They're like, we want the best, and they were willing to spend the money to do it. So, stupid computer. This is irritating me, actually. I guess I'll just do this. This isn't going to cause me any issues. I'll move this. This is annoying. Yeah. So you got Fabian in the background there next to Phil Keed. You've got Luke Youlden there in the race suit. Roger Penske. I'm not sure about all the other people in the background. I don't know who they are. But Phil Keed, Fabian Coulthard, and Luke Youlden were all all at BJR in 2015, and so that probably attracted Fabian across to go. Yeah, but we're going to bring your engineer, and we're going to bring your co-driver too, because I guess Luke Youlden used to be really good as a co-driver, apparently, or at least Fabian was happy with him, and I think, what was it? Luke Youlden ended up getting the boot from DJR Team Penske for 2017, and they put Tony D'Alberto in. Well, they moved him across to Fabian's car. D'Alberto was with Scott Pye in 2016. But obviously, I'd mentioned Phil Keed got the boot, not even the boot, he got put on gardening leave at the end of 2017. Fabian got to stay, but and I guess he was sort of hopeful that DJR Team Penske were going to move things in the right direction for him, but it ended up not working out. So obviously he was pretty upset in 2021 when that people, he must have been copping some real criticism, and he was, because people were saying in 2018, oh, they got to replace Fabian and put Chaz in the car. And it's like, well, he must have felt really betrayed. Been like, they're moving everything into Scotty's territory, and I'm getting shafted here. But it's like, where are you going to go? You're going to go drive for another team where you can't get those results? I mean, at least he was still getting the occasional podium and the occasional race win. He just wasn't going to be able to challenge for the championship because they weren't giving him what he wanted. And he had what he wanted. Whoopsies. In 2017. So, he's he wasn't that bad. He went to Townsville and struggled. I don't know what happened there, but there would be stuff that happened at Townsville. Maybe he didn't qualify that well. I might look at that later.